My name is Thea Dixon. I'm 30. Last Saturday, I drove 4 hours to my family's house for dinner. I hadn't even set my bag down when my dad shoved a stack of plates into my hands. "Your brother's girlfriend will be here soon," he said. "Don't ruin this for us." I stood in the hallway holding his good china, and I didn't say a word. I've learned that words don't work in this house. Not mine, anyway. Then the front door opened. A woman stepped inside, laughing at something my brother said. She turned, her eyes landed on me, and she froze in the doorway. What happened next changed everything I believed about my place in this family. Before I take you back to that evening, please take a moment to like and subscribe, and drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from. Now, let me take you back to 3 days before that dinner, the phone call that started it all. It's Wednesday evening, and I'm sitting on the floor of the therapy gym at Riverside Community Hospital, peeling dinosaur stickers off my scrub pants. My last patient, a 5-year-old boy named Marcus with cerebral palsy, just spent 45 minutes learning to grip a plastic spoon. He laughed twice. That's progress. That's a good day. My phone buzzes on the bench. Dad. I consider letting it ring, but I think about Mom, and I pick up. "Thea, Garrett's bringing his girlfriend Saturday. I need you here by 4 to help set up." I close my eyes. "Dad, it's a 4-hour drive. I have a patient until 2. "Then leave early. This is important." I want to say that Marcus is important too, that he's learning to feed himself for the first time, and canceling his session means pushing it to next week, which means his mother will spend 7 more days spooning applesauce into his mouth while he cries because he wants to do it himself. But I've had this conversation before. It ends the same way. "I'll be there," I say. "Good. The good plates are in a box in the garage. Pull them out and wash them." He hangs up, doesn't ask about my day, doesn't ask about anything. I sit there in the empty gym, phone in my hand, and I think about my mother. She died 3 years ago, pancreatic cancer, fast and merciless. The last thing she said to me, her hand thin as paper in mine, was, "Keep this family together, Thea." That's the only reason I still make this drive. Not for my father. For a promise I made to a woman who would be horrified by what her family has become. I should explain something about my family. My father, Richard Dixon, coached varsity football at Jefferson High for 30 years. Head coach, state semifinals twice. In our town, that meant something. Men bought him beers at the hardware store. Parents named their dogs after his playbook formations. When he retired 5 years ago, the local paper ran a front-page photo. Coach Dixon, arms crossed, whistle around his neck, grinning like a man who conquered something. Then it was over. No more Friday night lights, no more coach, just Richard sitting in a recliner, scrolling through ESPN, waiting for someone to make him feel important again. That someone is my brother Garrett. Garrett is 32, a regional sales rep for a medical equipment company. He's fine at it. He closes deals, hits quota, earns a decent living. But the way my father talks about him, you'd think he brokered peace in the Middle East. Here's the scoreboard, because my father always keeps score. My graduation from the DPT program, Doctor of Physical Therapy, 3 years of graduate school, clinical rotations that left me sleeping in my car between shifts. My father arrived 40 minutes late, sat in the back row, and spent the ceremony on his phone. Afterward, he said, "So, you're done with school now? Good." 2 months later, Garrett signed his first regional account. My father threw a backyard barbecue, invited the neighbors, wore a proud dad apron he'd never once put on for me. Last Thanksgiving, I cooked my mother's entire menu from memory. The cornbread, the sweet potato casserole, the turkey brine exactly the way she taught me. No one mentioned it. Then Garrett walked in with a $30 bottle of wine, and my father held it up like a trophy. "That's my boy." My father doesn't see me. he sees a pair of hands that remind him of my mother. Saturday morning. I'm at the hospital early, finishing up patient notes before the drive. The rehab wing is quiet, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the faint smell of hand sanitizer that I stopped noticing years ago. Priya, my colleague, leans against the doorframe of the charting room. Family dinner again? Yep. You always come back looking like someone ran over your dog. I don't have a dog. Exactly my point. Even a dog would get more appreciation. I laugh, but she's not wrong. On my way out, I pass the wall of steps, a corkboard in the hallway covered with photos of our patients taking their first independent steps after rehab. Some are standing with walkers, some are holding a parent's hand, a few are mid-stride, caught in that split second between falling and flying. There's one near the center that always catches my eye. A girl, maybe 7, with a spray of red hair and freckles across her nose. She's beaming, both hands gripping a pair of forearm crutches, one foot lifted mid-step like she's about to take off running. I'm kneeling beside her in the photo, one hand on her back, grinning so wide my eyes are almost shut. Lily Brennan, pelvic fracture and a mild spinal cord injury from a cycling accident. A delivery truck turned right and didn't see her. 14 months of therapy. She called the parallel bars the scary bridges and refused to touch them for the first 3 sessions. She walks on her own now. I grab my bag, check my keys, and start the 4-hour drive to my father's house. I've made this trip 11 times since Mom died. 11 dinners, 11 rounds of washing the good plates, and sitting in the corner while my father talks about Garrett. The GPS says I'll arrive at 4, right on time to start setting up. I pull into the driveway at 10 past 4. Garrett's truck is already here, parked in the center of the driveway, naturally, so I have to squeeze my Civic against the mailbox. The house looks the same. Same brown shutters, same porch swing Mom picked out at a flea market in Fredericksburg, same welcome mat that says The Dixons in a font she thought was charming. I grab my overnight bag and head inside. Dad's in the kitchen, arranging bottles of craft beer on the counter like a display at a trade show. He points toward the stairs without looking up. "Your room's open. Change and come help." My room. I climb the stairs, push the door open, and stop. The bed's still there, stripped to the mattress. No sheets, but everything else is different. Mom's bookshelf, the one she'd had since college, the one that held her collection of glass butterflies, 23 of them, gathered from antique shops across Virginia over 15 years, is gone. In its place sits a 65-inch flat screen mounted to the wall, a leather recliner, a tackle box, and 3 fishing rods leaning in the corner. He's turning my room into a man cave. I open the dresser drawer where Mom used to keep the butterflies when she dusted. Empty. I go back downstairs. "Dad, where are Mom's butterflies?" He doesn't look up from the beer bottles. "I boxed up those knickknacks. They were collecting dust." Knickknacks. That's the word he uses for 23 years of my mother's joy. "Where's the box?" "Garage somewhere. By the yard sale next weekend." The yard sale. He's going to sell them. My mother's glass butterflies, sitting in a cardboard box between old golf clubs and a broken shop vac tagged at $1 a piece? I open my mouth to say something, and then I hear Garrett's voice from the living room laughing, and I swallow it. The guests arrive by 5:30. Grandma Margot comes first, wheeled in by Aunt June, Mom's younger sister. Grandma's 82, sharp in the eyes but hard of hearing, and she squeezes my hand at the door like she's checking that I'm real. Aunt June pulls me into a hug that lasts a beat too long, the kind that says, "I know." Then the Pattersons, Bill and Donna, neighbors for 20 years, the couple who brought casseroles every day for a month after Mom's funeral. They still ask about me with genuine warmth, which is more than I can say for the man who raised me. Dad lines everyone up in the living room like it's a pre-game huddle. He claps Garrett on the shoulder and turns to the Pattersons. You all know my son, regional sales rep now, just closed a deal with 3 hospitals across the state. He grins, rocking on his heels. Chip off the old block. Then he glances at me. I'm standing by the dining table with a stack of napkins. And this is Thea. She volunteers at a hospital down in Richmond. Bill Patterson tilts his head. Oh, like reading to kids? My father nods. Something like that. I don't correct him. I've corrected him 7 times in 3 years. Each time he says the same thing. Same thing, Thea. After a while, you stop swinging at a pitch you know he'll never throw straight. Aunt June catches my eye from across the room, her lips pressed together. She looks at me the way Mom needs to, with an apology she doesn't know how to say out loud. Garrett is pouring wine for Dad. He heard every word. He knows I'm not a volunteer. He knows exactly what I do. He pours a second glass and hands it to Dad without looking at me. Something like that, Dad says again and waves me toward the kitchen. Now go check the oven. The kitchen smells like roasted garlic and rosemary. I've been in here for 40 minutes, checking the roast, slicing bread, arranging bruschetta on a platter that Mom bought at a craft fair in Charlottesville. The platter has a small chip on the edge. I always hold it by that side so no one sees. Garrett walks in to grab a bottle of sparkling water from the fridge. I don't turn around. You could have corrected him, I say. You know what I do. He twists the cap off, takes a sip. Come on, Thea, don't start, not tonight. I'm not starting anything. I'm asking you to say one true sentence about me. He leans against the counter, arms crossed. For a second, he looks exactly like Dad. The posture, the angle of the jaw, the way he holds space like the room owes him rent. He's proud of me. It's not about you. I let that land. He doesn't hear it, that I do. It's not about you. In this house, it never is. Garrett, you sell equipment to rehabilitation departments. You've walked through PT gyms. You know what I do is not volunteering. He opens his mouth, but the doorbell cuts through the kitchen. Dad's voice booms from the living room. That must be her. Thea, bring the appetizers. I look at the bruschetta platter, then at Garrett, then at the door. He shrugs. Just let's have a nice night, okay? I pick up the platter, chipped side toward me, pretty side out. I straighten my shoulders. I walk toward the front of the house, carrying a tray of food and a decision I haven't made yet. Then the front door opens. She's tall, taller than I expected. Dark hair pulled into a low bun, olive green wrap dress, a bottle of wine in one hand, and a smile that reaches her eyes. She looks kind. She looks like someone who laughs easily. Garrett steps past me and wraps his arm around her. Everyone, this is Clare. Dad crosses the room in 2 strides, hand extended. Welcome, welcome. We've heard so much about you. Clare shakes his hand warmly, says something polite about the house, about the smell of dinner. She turns to Grandma Margot, bends down, introduces herself at the right volume, loud enough for the hearing aids, gentle enough to not embarrass. She's good with people, I can tell immediately. Then she turns toward me. I'm standing 3 feet away, holding the bruschetta platter, wearing Mom's old apron with flour on the sleeve. I must look exactly like what my father introduced me as, the help. Claire's eyes find my face. Her smile drops. Not in a rude way, more like someone just punched the air out of her lungs. Her lips part. Her chin pulls back a fraction. The bottle of wine tilts slightly in her grip, and Garrett reaches over to steady it. You okay, babe? She doesn't answer him. She's staring at me, and I'm staring back. Because I know this face. I know it from the hallway outside therapy room 3. This woman sitting in a plastic chair every Tuesday and Thursday, a paperback in her lap, sometimes reading, sometimes just staring at the wall, sometimes crying so quietly that the only sign was the wet spots on her jeans. Thea, she whispers. The room goes still. Dad frowns. Garrett looks between us. Thea, Dad says, Don't just stand there. Offer her something. We sit down to eat. Dad has arranged the seating. Garrett and Claire on his right, closest to the head of the table. I'm on the far left next to Grandma Margot and across from Donna Patterson. The roast looks good. I spent 2 hours on it. Brined it the way Mom taught me, with apple cider vinegar and fresh thyme. Nobody comments on the food. Nobody ever does. Dad leans back, one arm draped over Garrett's chair. So Claire, this guy right here, he thumps Garrett's shoulder. Regional sales rep. Just landed a 3-hospital contract last quarter. Tell her the numbers, Garrett. Garrett rattles off figures, units, margins, territories. Claire nods, but her eyes keep drifting to me. I can feel it across the table. Dad's still going. Chip off the old block. I used to tell my boys on the field, close the deal every play. Garrett took that to heart. Claire sets her fork down. And what do you do, Thea?
The table shifts. It's the polite question every new guest asks. It's the question my father answers before I can. She helps out at a hospital, Dad says. Volunteers. Claire's eyebrows draw together. She looks at me. I give her a small smile, the kind that says, let it go, and reach for the breadbasket. What kind of volunteering? Claire asks. Her voice is steady, almost deliberate. Dad waves a hand. Garrett, tell Claire about the fishing trip with Uncle Roy. The subject changes just like that. My career dismissed in under 10 seconds, replaced by a story about a largemouth bass. Under the table, Claire folds her napkin in her lap and presses her fist against her thigh. She leans toward me slightly and says very quietly, I'd love to hear about your work later. I nod. I don't trust my voice right now. The meal continues. Dad tells 3 more stories about Garrett. Bill Patterson turns to me. Thea, did you play sports too? Dad laughs. Thea was more of a bookworm, nose always in something. I was also the kid who spent Saturday mornings volunteering at the adaptive sports camp 3 towns over because I wanted to understand why some kids couldn't throw a ball. I was 14, but that doesn't fit the highlight reel. Halfway through the main course, I stand to clear the appetizer plates. Nobody else moves. Garrett reaches for his wine. Dad keeps talking. Aunt June pushes her chair back. Honey, sit down. I'll help. Dad shakes his head. June, you're a guest. Thea's got it. June looks at me. I look at her. There's a whole conversation in that glance. But she sits back down, because that's what everyone does in Richard Dixon's house. You sit when he tells you to sit. I carry the plates to the kitchen. When I come back, Clara's watching me. Not with pity, something sharper. She's tracking the pattern. Who sits, who serves, who gets introduced, who gets erased. For the first time, the shame I feel isn't about my father. It's about being seen. About a stranger watching this happen in real time and knowing exactly how small I've let myself become in this house. I sit back down. Claire doesn't look away. Dessert comes out, a store-bought pie Dad picked up from the bakery, which he takes credit for choosing. I bring the plates, I pour the coffee. I'm on my feet more than I'm in my chair. Claire waits until I sit down again. Then she sets her coffee cup on the saucer, squares her shoulders, and looks directly at me. Thea, I have to ask, where exactly do you work? Which hospital? The table goes quiet. Riverside Community, I say, in Richmond. Claire's hand stops mid-reach for the sugar. Riverside, the pediatric rehab wing? Yes. The silence thickens. Dad looks at Claire with a faint frown. Claire turns to Garrett. Her voice is calm, but there's a wire beneath it. You never told me your sister works at Riverside. Garrett shifts. I mentioned she works at a hospital. You said she volunteers. He doesn't answer. Dad clears his throat. Claire, can I top off your wine? She ignores him. She's still looking at Garrett, and then she turns back to me, and something in her face breaks open. Recognition and grief and gratitude all at once. I need to tell you all something, she says. Grandma Margot cups her ear. What's that, dear? Bill Patterson leans back. My father puts down his fork. And for the first time all evening, he doesn't have a speech ready. And right there, with everyone staring at Claire, I felt my heart hammering against my ribs. I didn't know what she was about to say. If you've ever sat at a table where no one really sees you, where your name is just a placeholder, hit that like button right now and subscribe, because what Claire said next, I still can't talk about it without my voice cracking. Let me continue. Claire takes a breath. 2 years ago, my little sister Lily was hit by a delivery truck while riding her bike. She was 6. Donna Patterson covers her mouth. She fractured her pelvis. The impact compressed part of her lower spine. The doctor said she might not walk normally again. They used words like significant impairment and long-term mobility challenges. And my parents heard every one of them sitting in a hallway that smelled like floor wax. She pauses. My mom stopped sleeping. My dad stopped talking. I drove down every Tuesday and Thursday to sit outside the therapy room while Lily screamed through her exercises. Dad shifts in his seat. That's terrible, Claire. Thank God she's all right. Claire looks up. She's all right because of one person.
The table goes still. I feel my pulse in my fingertips. She hasn't said my name. She hasn't connected the dots yet. But I know. Garrett glances at me. Just a flicker, quick and confused. Then back at Claire. The doctors gave us numbers, Claire says. She gave us hope. Claire straightens up. There was this therapist at Riverside. Every session, she'd get on the floor with Lily, hands and knees on the mat, face to face, eye to eye. She never stood over her, never talked down to her. I stare at my plate. My throat tightens. Lily screamed sometimes, cried so hard she'd make herself sick. And this woman would just sit there, cross-legged on the floor, and wait. She'd say, I know it hurts. We'll try again when you're ready. Every single time. Aunt June is gripping her water glass so hard her knuckles are white. She came in on her day off once, Claire continues. Lily had a bad night. Wouldn't eat, wouldn't talk, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling. This therapist drove in on a Saturday morning, sat on the edge of Lily's mat, and pulled out a butterfly sticker. My breath catches. I remember that morning. A monarch, orange and black with glitter wings. She told Lily that butterflies don't fly on their first day either, that they have to wait and stretch and rest before their wings work. Claire's voice cracks. Lily put that sticker on her wheelchair. She wouldn't let anyone take it off. Dad is quiet. He's just sitting there, hands flat on the table, watching Claire like a man seeing headlights too late. Lily walked into my classroom 3 months ago, Claire says, on her own 2 feet because of that woman. Claire stops. She looks at me. Really looks. Thea, she says quietly, do you remember a little girl named Lily? Red hair, freckles, terrified of the parallel bars? Every head of the table turns to me. I set my cup down. Lily Brennan, I say. She used to call the walking rails the scary bridges. Claire's eyes fill. That's my sister. The dining room goes airless. Garrett's mouth opens, closes. Aunt June makes a small, broken sound, half laugh, half sob. Grandma Margot leans forward. What did she say? Aunt June turns to her, voice shaking. Claire's little sister was one of Thea's patients, Mom. Thea helped her walk again. Grandma Margot stares at me for a long moment. Then her hand reaches across the table and covers mine. Your mother would be so proud. Grandma's words hang in the room like smoke. My father picks up his wine glass, puts it down. Claire turns to face him. Mr. Dixon, you told me Thea volunteers. My father scrambles. Well, it's all the same, isn't it? Hospital work? Claire's voice stays level. It's not the same, sir. Volunteering is giving your time. What Thea does is a licensed medical profession. She has a master's degree. Aunt June corrects her. Richard, she has a doctor of physical therapy. She told you 3 years ago. Dad's neck goes red. I know my daughter has a degree. Do you know what it's called? June asks. He doesn't answer. Garrett stares at the wall beside my head. Let's not make this a thing, Dad says. We're here to welcome Claire. I am welcomed, Mr. Dixon, Claire says, and I'm grateful, but I'm sitting across from a woman who changed my family's life, and you're calling her a volunteer. Aunt June's voice. She told you at Thanksgiving, Richard. You said, that's nice, and turned on the game. Dad opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. Claire isn't attacking, she's bewildered. Mr. Dixon, I watched your daughter work with my sister for 14 months. She arrived before her shift started. She stayed after. She learned Lily's favorite song so she could sing it during the hard exercises. Donna Patterson is crying openly now. When Lily finally stood up on her own, Thea cried harder than any of us. Claire pauses. And you're telling people she volunteers? Dad's jaw works. From the far end of the table, Grandma Margot asks, is that what you do, Thea? Help children walk? I look at her. Yes, Grandma, that's what I do. She squeezes my hand. Good girl. Claire turns to Garrett. You knew. You sell equipment to hospitals, Garrett. You've seen the therapy pools.
You know what a pediatric PT does. He swallows. Why didn't you ever correct your dad? Garrett's voice comes out small. It was just easier. There it is. Easier to let Dad erase me. Easier to pour the wine and nod along. I look at him. I'm not angry. I'm just tired of being the cost of someone else's comfort. Easier for who, Garrett? He doesn't answer. Dad pushes back from his chair. All right, enough. I have always provided for this family. I don't need a lecture at my own dinner table. He jubs a finger at me. See what you've done. I asked you one thing. Don't ruin this evening. I look at my father. I haven't said a word, Dad. I set your table. I cooked your food. I carried your plates. I cleared the dishes while everyone else had coffee. I haven't said one word all night, and you still found a way to blame me. Silence. Dad stands there, the coach who just watched his star play fall apart. He has no audible left. Claire breaks the silence. She pulls out her phone. I want you to see something. My mom recorded this the day Lily walked without crutches for the first time. The video plays. A hospital hallway. Lily taking 1 step, 2, 3. At step 4, she stumbles. A pair of hands catches her. My hands. I'm kneeling on the floor in scrubs, saying, "You've got it. You've got it." Lily stands again. Step 5, 6, 7. The hallway erupts. Nurses clapping. And me in the corner of the frame, wiping my eyes with the back of my wrist. The video ends. Dad is looking at the phone. At the frozen last frame. My face, kneeling on a hospital floor beside a child who just did the impossible. He doesn't say a word. That's not volunteering, Mr. Dixon, Claire says. That's saving a child's life. I stand up. I walk to the kitchen and start clearing the dessert plates. I stood there watching my father's face as that video played, and for the first time in my life, I didn't want his approval anymore. I just wanted him to see. If this story is hitting close to home, leave a comment, because what I did next, I did for every person who's ever been invisible at their own family's table. Everyone moves to the living room for coffee, except me. I'm at the sink when Dad appears. Kitchen needs cleaning up, he says. I turn off the faucet. Everyone is having coffee, Dad. Garrett has a guest. I'm also a guest. I drove 4 hours. He exhales. You're not a guest, Thea. You're family. Then treat me like family. He tilts his head. The words don't compute. Just get the dishes done. We can talk about this later. There's nothing to talk about later.
I'm asking you right now, am I your daughter or am I your staff? Claire's voice comes from behind him. I'll help with the dishes, Thea. Dad turns. No, Claire, you're our guest. Claire doesn't move. Thea is family, but not a guest. And I'm a guest, but not family. Where does that leave her, Mr. Dixon? I dry my hands. I walk past my father into the living room. I stand in the center. Dad, I have driven to this house 11 times since Mom died. Every single time I cook, I clean, I set the table, and I sit in a corner while you talk about Garrett. I have a doctorate. Last year, I helped 9 kids take their first independent steps, and every time I come home, you introduce me as a volunteer. Dad unfolds his arms. Thea, I never meant. I know you didn't mean it, Dad. That's what makes it worse. You didn't even notice. Aunt June stands. Richard, Marie would not have wanted this. Marie talked about Thea's work every time we had coffee. She kept a notebook. Dad stares. A notebook? June pulls out a small black moleskin. She wrote down the names of every child Thea helped. She was going to give it to Thea on her 30th birthday. She didn't make it. She holds the notebook out to me. I take it. I open the first page. Mom's handwriting. Lily B. First steps today. Thea called me crying. So proud of my girl. My vision blurs. Dad is staring at the moleskin. He looks like a man who just realized he's measured his life in the wrong things. He sits down on the ottoman, lower to the ground. I didn't hook a notebook, he says. Aunt June, you didn't know a lot of things, Richard, because you didn't ask. I don't know what to say, Dad says. I hold the notebook against my ribs. You don't have to say anything tonight, Dad, but I need you to hear this. I won't come back to a house where I'm a servant. He nods. Surrender. From across the room, Grandma Margot. Good girl. I walk out to the garage. The box is there. Misk yard sale. 23 glass butterflies wrapped in newspaper. I check each one.
all intact. Claire appears. Need help? Together, we carry it to my car. I go back upstairs and take the framed photo of Mom on the dresser. Garrett is in the hallway. Thea, don't leave like this. I'm leaving with Mom's things that Dad was about to sell.
We stand in the garage. Garrett shoves his hands in his pockets. I should have said something. I know. You chose easy every time. He's our dad, Thea. He doesn't know how to. He doesn't know because no one makes him learn, including you. I love you, Garrett, but I won't pretend anymore. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with you using my actual job title out loud in front of him. He nods. I'm sorry, Thea. I know you are. Now prove it. I walk to my car. Claire follows me out. Lily asks about you, she says. She calls you the butterfly lady. She told her whole class about you. This lady taught me how to be brave. My eyes sting. Thank you, Claire, for seeing me. She hugs me. I'm going to have a long talk with Garrett tonight. I drive 4 hours on a dark highway. The moleskin notebook sits on the passenger seat. I flip to the last entry. Aiden M. Learning to hold a spoon. Dia says he laughed today, January 14th, 3 weeks before she died. Even then, she was proud. When I get home, I set the butterflies on the windowsill, one by one. The streetlight catches the glass. 23 butterflies lined up like a chorus. She saw me, every single day. 3 days later, Garrett calls. I told Dad. I used those exact words, Doctor of Physical Therapy. I also told him the yard sale is off. Mom's things stay. Thank you. I'm doing it because Claire said, if you can't stand up for your own sister, you can't stand up for anyone. 2 weeks pass. Dad doesn't call. I don't call. For the first time, the silence isn't painful. It's a boundary. Aunt June calls. He's reading the notebook. He asked me what DPT stands for. He wrote it down. That's not a Hallmark ending, but it's a 61-year-old man finally paying attention. I can work with that.
Monday morning, I stand at the wall of steps. I find Lily's photo. It's evidence. Proof that I was here, that I did this, that it mattered. My first patient of the day is Oliver, a 4-year-old. He doesn't trust me. He shouldn't yet. Trust is earned on this floor. Hey, buddy, we're going to take it slow, okay? This is who I am. The rest is noise. 6 weeks later, I get a pink envelope. A card from Lily. Dear Butterfly Lady, I ran in gym class today. Thank you for teaching me how to be brave. I pin it next to Mom's photo. Then my phone rings. Dad. Thea, Garrett told me you're not coming for the 4th. Is there anything I can do? Yes. Next time you introduce me, say, this is my daughter Thea. She's a pediatric rehabilitation specialist. I can do that. Then I'll think about coming. Your mother's things, they're still here. The blue butterfly, it was her favorite. He knows. He's known all along. It's mine too, Dad. Thanksgiving, I make the drive. Garrett is washing sweet potatoes. Dad walks the Pattersons to the living room. You remember my daughter, Thea. She's a pediatric rehabilitation specialist. Bill Patterson, that's a real calling. On the bookshelf, the glass butterflies catch the lamplight. I don't know if my father will ever fully change, but I'm not going to wait for him anymore. I used to think being seen meant being praised. Now I know that the children I work with, they see me. I'm Thea Dixon. I help children walk. And I finally learned to walk away from the table where I was invisible. That's my story. Drop a comment and tell me about the moment you decided you weren't going to be invisible anymore. Hit subscribe if you want more stories like this one. Wherever you're watching from, thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next.